I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens.
A transgender woman brutally attacked in Texas.
She is the fourth transgender homicide victim in Kansas City.
The Trump administration retracted
Legally defined transgender out of existence.
They found the body
of discrimination.
You know what I am? Do you know what I am? A child of God. A child that is deserving of as much love as you. That's who I am.
How does it feel to you to think about that you were once detained here at this facility?
They thought I was crazy for saying that I was a trans person. I was housed with 100 men. They're males who've been detained for so long, and for them to see a female, it's...
For almost my whole life, I haven't felt at home in my body.
Public schools no longer required to allow transgender students to use the bathroom of their choice.
I think the bathroom has always been a tool for controlling people.
The president has announced on Twitter that there will be no more transgender service members in the armed forces.
This particular administration has made it okay to hate again. It has affected the way people are treated.
Let's go. Welcome to Queerguru, and congratulations on your web series, Trans in Trumpland, which I found extremely moving. So does one of you, without giving it all away, want to tell us briefly what it's about?
Sure. So Trans in Trumpland is a 4-episode docuseries that is about the Trump administration era and its impact on transgender Americans. Not only that, but it also investigates not only transphobia, but also immigration, xenophobia, and racism. So it is a historical capsule at this point of what the 4 years meant politically for the United States.
Tony, you say in the film, the beginning of the film, that you started this like 4 days after he was elected. Was that the main reason for you to make the series with Jamie?
So my motivation was, so I kind of completed like my physical transition, just right before, so I had bottom surgery right before he was elected back in 2016. The day that he won, I was watching in horror with my mom as the election results rolled in, and I realized with her that he was president. Couldn't sleep that night. 3 days later, the title Trans in Trumpland just popped into my head. I don't know why it happened. It just popped into my head. And I was like, well, why is this happening? And what can I do as a filmmaker to investigate the impact that he's going to have on trans people and many minorities in the United States? And going back to that first 24 hours after he won in 2016, he stripped any mention of LGBTQ rights from the Obama era, from the White House website within 24 hours. So I was like, this is bad. Then I believe, he also targeted me as an Iranian American with the Muslim ban as well. So I spoke to Jamie and I was like, what do you think about this? And Jamie was into it. And he said, well, you could leave New York where you're legally protected and investigate what is going to happen during the Trump era on a state level for trans Americans.
Jamie, you chose 4 very different individuals. How did you find them and how did you persuade them to take part?
Yeah, so Tony and I did a huge kind of interview process to find everyone. He took charge of finding our subject from Idaho and from Texas because he had previous relationships with Shane and Rebecca. And then for Mississippi and North Carolina, we kind of had to go on a bit of a hunt to find people who were connected to different activist communities down there. So we contacted a bunch of PFLAG organizations in North Carolina and a bunch of PFLAG organizations and other nonprofit organizations in Mississippi. And kind of like through the trans network, like through sort of trans connections online, we were able to find Ivana, who's like known as like the Queen Mother of the South. So we were like, absolutely, she's like the perfect person for this.
Yeah.
We had a couple of Zoom calls with her to sort of figure out what her story arc would be. And then similarly with Ash and Daisy, we had to find a parent that would be, similarly understanding and willing to be on camera as well, since Ash is a minor. So those 2 characters took a little bit longer.
Do you think that that process of them taking part actually helped their own journeys too?
I think that's an interesting point, and it's something that probably the characters could speak more to. But from what I've heard from them, it was really eye-opening for them to kind of be able to relay their story to someone else, to be able to hear it in a very succinct way, and to kind of connect to Tony on camera and behind the camera. And I think it helped them, a lot of them, feel a sense of community from what they told us.
As a gay film critic, I see a lot of transgender movies and series, as many as I can do. But what I took away from your series, most of all, was that you enabled us to feel we were part of the whole transitioning journey for once. For once, I felt less of an outsider looking in. Was that a purpose of yours?
Yeah, definitely. Jamie and I had the conversation very early on with each other because we're both trans men. We said, we don't want this to be about trans embodiment necessarily and the physical aspects of transitioning. So we want to veer away from traditional trans narratives. So we knew that what we wanted to touch on was the socio-political aspect of being trans. So I think that came through in investigating what happens politically and the state level for each character. But for me personally too, I'm very emotion driven and a little bit spiritual driven when it comes to my filmmaking. So I want to draw people in and have them feel the emotions and feel connected to me, even if they're not trans. So in sharing my story and also directing behind the camera, I wanted to make sure that people would feel connected. So that involved a lot of vulnerability, sharing my story, sharing my home movies. And I'm glad that came across because that was certainly my intention, is to make the viewer feel like, break down that barrier between us and make them feel the emotions of my journey and what I went through with my family and my mom, and also what the characters were also going through and discussing, either family rejection or acceptance as well. So yeah, that was definitely intentional on our part.
Yeah, I don't want to take away from the tough parts of their journeys, especially being in prison in Texas. But what came over from the film is not so much the negativity, but their resilience to what was going on around them, personally and via the politics as well. Was that important to you to show that?
Yeah, definitely. That's like spot on. I also wanted to, I know there's a lot of misery when it comes to the portrayal of trans stories and even queer stories. So I wanted to make sure that we should, as documentary filmmakers, like the accuracy and the reality of being trans in these states, but also the resiliency and the trans joy, because I feel like that can be a universal theme for a lot of people. It's not just trans people that are rejected by their families, for example, or that experience hatred. So that was definitely intentional, to show these people building community around them and fighting back in their own small and big ways where they live. And I'm glad that came through as well, because we knew that we wanted to show strength and resiliency. And yeah.
You know, we know visibility is important for both our communities, for LGBT, the whole way through. Did you avoid any negativity? You wanted to make a positive spin, or you just filmed it as it was?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, when you were talking with Tony on production, like, we didn't intentionally try to taint any story in any one way. We just tried to get a full kind of snapshot of their lives. And it just so happens that, you know, like most humans, there is, you know, misery joined with joy, joined with happiness, joined with grief. And I think that if a viewer can understand that, they can just better humanize trans people, because I'm kind of tired of seeing the same narratives when it comes to trans narratives. And I think that as trans filmmakers, we kind of have an insight as to how to subvert those things.
Have you kept in touch with the four, and are you planning to do a follow-up?
Yeah, we've all kept in touch. Tony could speak more to the other part.
Yeah, no, I love all four characters. We stay in touch either right now for a lot of press stuff that's coming our way, panels, but also I consider especially all of them at this point my friends. I'll text them every week and be like, how are you doing? How's the reception where you are? How does it feel to like be on screen? And also just to talk to them about like how they're progressing in their own lives and the impact, the positive impact the series has made. So I just love them all. And I think that's like kind of where I come to ethically as a filmmaker, is like, I want to engage and make sure they've had positive things occur in their life. And also season 2, I've thought about it. Yeah, I've thought about it. I don't know, because Jamie and I are so busy with other projects, and I wonder too what would happen because of the title. But I feel like there is this idea that there'll be like a continued debate over state rights versus federal rights when it comes to trans issues. So I'm like, this is going to be a big focus over the next 4 years under Biden. So I wonder if maybe, I don't know, we could have someone else produce it since we're busy and then do it. But it sounds cool and I want to do it. And I love the characters. So it's something that I think about every day. I'm like, what should I do here? You know?
It's hard. Once you get engaged with really four charming people and really fascinating stories, you want to know what's next. What's next for the film series itself? Do you have plans to take it elsewhere?
Yeah, we're working with our sales agent right now to try to get it in Europe and the UK and Australia, because we've had some interest in those locations. So hopefully we'll be able to do that rather soon. And then, maybe try to get it into some festivals that are, international, to kind of get it more press internationally. But that's kind of where we're at right now with it.
We're going to run your details on the bottom at the end of this film so that people can keep track of where you are next, because we're just about to start the festival season now. So we may pop up somewhere. And you hinted, Tony, you've got lots of projects. Is there any the two of you want to talk to me about? I should know about what's next.
So yeah, you can tell.
Sure. So so Jamie and I are working on a queer trans dating show, some more reality TV, which I've heard is can have elements of documentary filmmaking, which is cool. So working on that, that incorporates the modern themes of self-help, astrology. So we're pitching that out. And then Jamie has been working on a script for a while about a trans activist from San Francisco in the 1980s. So we're going to start pitching that as well. So those are our two big projects right now. They're very much still in the development pitching phase. So yeah, they'll come to the screen in some way soon.
So it's very difficult getting an indie film made and off the ground. Is it more difficult to be a transgender filmmaker?
I think so. And it's something that Tony and I talk about a lot. I think there's just a lot of gatekeepers at these big festival institutions and things like that, that if they haven't heard of your name before, they haven't heard of your production company before, they just automatically write you off. And we, being trans filmmakers coming from first generation families, Tony and I don't have those industry connections. So we've had to kind of carve out our own space, kind of just start from ground zero. But I think with this coming out, we have been able to get a little bit more interest from agencies and things like that. So hopefully that'll change. But I think, we're kind of in this new wave of trans filmmaking, and I just hope that we're able to play kind of a small part of that.
I think you are. I think all of us in the industry need to respect and look at anything that's new and fresh and puts a different edge on queer cinema. And you two definitely did, and it was a great film. I was thrilled to do it. Quite a bit, as usual, but thank you for making it. And
thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah.
This particular administration has made it okay to hate again. It has affected the way people are treated.
I wanted to show you something that I brought with me. So this was actually me when I was 12. I just want to let you know that no matter what the president says about you, you exist and you're human.
And to realize that the human being is not separate from nature, but is a part of it.
If you have the support of your friends, you have the support of your family, nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you.
Our generation and the younger trans people today will continue to fight for our right to exist in the United States and in the world.
Trans people, we're not contagious, we're not no disease. Accept us, love us, we're people.
If enough light shines, people will find a way.